Alrighty, welcome to Romera Records virtual cast. Today we have on Bluff. How's it going?
How you doing, my brother?
So interesting how we know each other. I always start my podcast off with telling people how I found you, but actually, now that I think about it, I don't know how I found you. I think it was from Twitter.
Yeah, I think because I was around that time I was doing the Twitch streams, and I think
Yeah,
you sent a song in, and I commented on it, and then afterwards you hit me up on either Twitter or Instagram, and then from there we just kicked it.
yeah. Are you still doing those streams? I haven't seen you post about it.
I haven't. You know what it is? Whenever I get into something, or I have to make this huge plan that's just unobtainable before I even start to like it.
Yo, I mean, no offense, but I mean, you sound just like my wife. Like me and her were just talking about that. So she has a business. She's a personal trainer,
Mhm.
and we were just talking about her having just do this one thing, just do this small thing, and just keep doing that thing. But in
Mhm.
her head, she just took that small thing from like create a video of you doing push-ups and she turned it into I have to create the most elaborate video of
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, you don't have to do all that.
I know, dude. I do that. I accept. I'm like, all right, I got to create one video. Well, I can't just make one. So how am I going to do this every single week, every day, have a new video? And it's just like, yo, just make the first one, or just do a stream. You don't have to do one next week after doing the first one. You could just say, I'm going to go on until you start doing it anyway, and then you say, oh well, I just do them every one Monday.
Yeah, I mean, that is the problem with a lot of people in our way of thinking. Like we for some reason we tend to I don't know, we just tend to think that we have to do the most to please our audience, but really the audience just wants to see something. That's it.
Yeah, yeah, it's true. I mean, I think the problem is that we're competing. We always put ourselves in competition with these mass marketed like everything, and we think we have to become our own mass marketing machine. And like even for simple things like a Twitch stream, like, oh, I should be consistent because then I can grow my Twitch, or oh, I should put a song out every blah blah blah. But then it's just like I didn't even have fun with it yet. You know what I mean? I didn't even like start to enjoy it yet. Why am I making this work already?
Yeah. And if you consistently do those things, like just the small things, you'll eventually get better and figure out everything else. Like all you have to do is just do a little bit, figure it out, and then once you figured it out, you'll get good and create this brand identity.
It's true. You just gotta like it first, and then you're gonna like do it. If you're passionate about something, you're doing it overly consistently anyway. So there's no point in making something work that you're not passionate about yet. You might actually scare yourself out of being passionate about it because you just made it too much, you know.
Yeah,
But
absolutely. So you live in New York.
mhm.
You say things like "you're" that I didn't know.
Oh my god,
You're.
that's like the yeah, that's like the staple term. Honestly, I didn't even say that when I was fucking growing up. I feel like New York just comes out with new terms every year that they think all New York people are supposed to know, but it's really just like the city. I'm in Long Island, so
Okay.
like we kind of just like munch off the city terms, and then but nobody in the city is just like you're from Long Island, never mind. You know
Mm.
what I mean? But yeah, no, that I'll hit you with those every once in a while. Try to keep you on track.
So, how do you feel about I guess we should actually tell people what you do and everything.
I
So
guess so.
yeah, so let's start with that. You are a producer, you are an artist, you are a audio engineer. What all do you do?
Yeah, I mean, that's the gist of it. I'd say I'm primarily a producer, engineer. I work as an engineer and a producer. I produce more on my free time too, but I tend to do a lot of songwriting for artists. So everything that you do in a studio, because I work in a studio, so everything I you would have me do in a studio on your time is what I do. And then whenever I have time and I can do it, I like to make my own music, yeah, and do the artist thing. But I really started the artist thing to learn how to like mix better and to write songs. So like I didn't have anybody, like, you know, I didn't have like anybody to use for vocals. So I had to learn how to do vocals to learn how to mix vocals. So that's, and then it just like it started a chain of me. Well, I want to make a good song now. Oh, well, I want to rap. I want to be a good rapper so that if I ever have to give advice to a rapper, they're not going to be like, why would I take advice from you? You suck. You know what I mean? So that's kind of where, and then eventually I just, you know, I had a passion for making my own shit, but
What's your favorite?
that's hard. You know, that's hard. I think, I don't know. It's hard because you know what the thing is it's like all those things are for making a song.
Mm,
So like, I honestly, I wish I could just have someone engineer everything for me. Like that's the most work part of it, I
mm.
think. Even producing, it's still like work. Like I like the songwriting aspect of it, I think. And I like um I like being an artist, but I think I like more making songs than me being the voice on the song. So I think most of my passion and what I like the most is the songwriting part, just songwriting for people, and that includes producing. So probably that area, because there's some songs that I just can't do with me. You know what I mean? My voice.
That's something that is a unique skill that you have that you probably don't realize is unique. Some people just don't know what they're capable of, and they try to force themselves to do something that they really can't do just because they hear the song in their head. And
Mhm.
just because you have the song in your head doesn't mean that you should be doing it. Somebody else would probably do it better, and you should just give it to them.
Yeah, that's the ego in it, I think. And I don't really have like, if anything, I don't really have like any ego in a song like that. Like I feel like it's supposed to be my face on it. I could write 99% of the song. I could write the whole song, do the whole beat, write all the verses, and someone else can sing it. And I'm like, that's fine. I don't, it doesn't, nobody needs to know I did it. I know I did it. You know what I mean? So I don't, I think that helps me kind of relinquish you know, this like attachment you get to songs. Like it was still attached to it, but not to my ego, just like I, because I like the song. So
Mm.
and I feel like you need that if you want to be like a decent producer or engineer. Like you have to like let go of the song and let it be in someone else's hands, you know.
Something that I notice about you from your streams is you're honest, but you're also nice. So like there there were some songs that were on there that were borderline trash, but you actually gave good feedback. You were like, this isn't, the best standard, but you could probably benefit from EQing this and doing that. And I was like, I like this guy.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like most of those streams are just like for kind of like a comedic type thing. You know what I mean? Like you'll find good things, but then it's just like people are getting bigger off of like kind of saying something's trash. You know what I mean? It's like harsher or whatever. Which don't get me wrong, I think that mentality is good. Like if you're submitting your song to a bunch of people, you should have. If your song's not like good sonically, you should have be okay with like hearing some people say it's trash
Yeah,
because
yeah.
that's just gonna happen. So I think it builds tougher skin like for you as an artist till I just not going to be the one to say it. Like I don't think it's going to help you. You know what I mean? And I as a consumer, like if I was just someone who just listens to music and maybe I make it sometimes, um I'd have no problem saying something's trash. But since I like know the process and I know where I came from and I know I've worked with people who just started, like you're not gonna get anything out of me saying it's trash. Like you're just gonna go home and be like, well, why is it trash though? Like what? Because you don't even have that frame of reference when you're making your first song. You think it's great. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
like someone just said something that you spent maybe a whole week making, and you finally are like, this is the version. And someone said this is trash. You are so far gone. Like you have way longer to go. Like that's so discouraging. Like
Yeah.
if someone really wants to be an art, you could tell if someone's kind of just fucking around. But like if someone really wants to be an artist, like they're not gonna get like you're not gonna. encourage them. I want them to keep making more. Like, especially if I see potential in it. I've heard some that I'm like borderline think it's a joke, and I'll like laugh a little bit. But like I'll be like, if you're if this is something you really want, or you're just doing it for fun, or either or, like, do try this. You know what I mean? Maybe that'll help you out. I'll never say it's bad. I can't. It's just like it's not in me to say a song was bad because it's subjective.
Yeah, and I think people need to understand exactly what you were just saying is like that kind of constructive criticism will probably escalate your career faster than anything because that means that number one, the person that is listening to your music actually cares about what your music sounds like and they cared enough to give you good feedback.
Yeah, what I started doing like later, like after a while, because you can only hear so much like of like new stuff from people who just started. I started like saying like I'd have an initial feeling as soon as I heard the song. Usually, if I had like some, that's why I drink sometimes too, because they make me a little bit more unfiltered. but what I'd do is I'd hold on to that initial thought, and I'd give my advice, and then I'd say this first. I'd say, like, you know, within the first 10 seconds, I already, it's not like, I feel like most people would probably not listen past this.
Mm,
I'll be like, I listen because I'm trying to, like, I want to hear the whole thing, and you know what I'm saying? But like as a consumer who has the attention span not like that much, they'd probably just go next track.
yeah.
So because you got to know what the consumer's going to think. It doesn't matter to me who's going to be nice and give you advice, like someone who does a song on their phone. You know what I mean? And I'm just like, this, it sounds like it has potential, man, but nobody's going to listen to this. I'm just like letting you know, like, being the bearer of bad news, like nobody's going to listen to your phone recording song. um if you think it's done, because it's, there's still more to do, but it has potential. You could take that to a studio, because I think as a mixing engineer too, like when I hear someone present me a song, I'm not listening to the mix. I'm listening to what the mix could be, because I hear it in my head what I could do to it. So like I'm hearing the potential in songs during streams. I'm not hearing what they are right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I actually have always done that, but I never really thought about that till you just said it. Like I'd
Mm-hmm.
never really thought that's what I'm doing because it's something that I think some people have a gift to be able to do that, and some people are just like, "Oh, that's this song. Like that's all it's ever going to be." But if you have that futuristic mindset of,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh man, if they did this or if they did that, like this song could be great."
Yeah, it's, what it's kind of like, it's like someone who's like a car junkie sees an old like beater, and everybody else is just like, that's car's a piece of shit, and you're like, no dude, look at the engine in this thing. Like, you put like a solid 6 months, this will quadruple in value. You know what I mean? Like I'm looking at it like a car flipper. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? Like, look at the potential in this. Like, this could, you like, I've heard songs that are so good, if they just like, I think like, oh man, if you recorded that with me, that would be such a good song. Like, and I could tell, like, I like sometimes if like I hear songs, just like, this is a good artist. They just have terrible mixing, terrible like tracking, bad mic. Like, you give them to me, because I've seen it. I've recorded people, and then it sounds great first time I meet them, and then they put out a project later on, and it just sounds so low quality. Bad. I'm like, this isn't how you should sound. Like, you should sound like how you sound with me. Like, that's how you're actually sound. You know?
And you feel bad for them. Like you feel like
Yeah.
you're like, "Oh my god, you're destroying your career."
I know, but you know what it is like a lot of artists are still have like that consumer ear to music. If you haven't produced or engineered, like, you still have like, because they'll put out songs that are just clearly so much less quality, but you can't tell the difference. Because before I started producing music, I used to listen to albums that used to be my favorite. And then after I started making my own music and learning how to mix and stuff, some albums I actually just couldn't even listen to it, because I was like, wow, like, I used to love this album, but it just doesn't sound, it sounds so badly mixed. It's the production on it's just so bad. Like, how did I not notice this? Because, and I'll never be able to go back. I
Mhm.
wish I could go back. I wish I could just listen to everything that everybody listens to and just be like, oh, this is great. But me, I'm just like, oh, you don't hear that? It's like that frequency. It's just resonant. I can't even listen to it.
Dude, there is something about that aspect of knowing more about what's going on. It's like the knowing what's under the magician's hat or up the
Yeah,
magician's sleeve. Like that aspect of music or anything. Let's say, you shoot videos. You're a videographer, and now you go and watch a movie in theaters. You're ruining it for everybody else. Oh my God, the color grading in this crazy.
I know. Yeah, bro. It's like it's even like being backstage and watching the movie. It's not as exciting because it's like, oh, I remember what he did after he did that scene, or like you know what I mean? There's so much more context to it now that it's like my ears and eyes are tainted. I already know like I'm hearing it differently than you are. And I
Mm,
can never I wish I can go back to like the ignorance of listening because that's also an accurate representation too. Like that's why I have to send my songs to people who don't make music and ask their opinion. Do you like this? You know what I mean? Because if they don't like it, that's like the majority. You know what I mean?
yeah. The average person is who you should make your music for.
Exactly. Not like you shouldn't work out for other. You know, you go to the gym, you look. Obviously, you should work out for yourself, but like a lot of people like or like buy new clothes for other people rather than for yourself, or like you know what I mean. It's just like
Yeah.
you're paying it for the wrong person. You know what I mean? Or you're putting on all that time for the wrong audience.
Yeah.
You
I mean,
know?
you can't go to a gym trying to impress a bunch of bodybuilders. Like that's not realistic.
I know. I think that's a problem also with just us as like musicians, is we seek acceptance from other musicians, not the fans or like the you know what I mean. So like we're making music to show other musicians, but it's gonna happen obviously, and that's like the whole culture behind it, and that's where it starts. But like um most people never actually go to the fan. Like they'd rather have this artist fuck with them than one fan fuck with them. You know what I mean? Like they won't go to a random person and say like, "Oh, I make music." You know what I mean? They'll probably judge you less. They'll probably like it more than like the artist. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a very good point. I think that if people understood, if musicians understood how easy it is to just try and capture, one person that's, as you said, on the street, you can gain so much more traction that way than you would trying to impress people who are, some Grammy winning engineer. It's like, don't
Yeah,
do that.
yeah. It's like you know what it is. It's like if you say you're someone who doesn't have any friends and you want to make friends, and your only goal is to make friends with the most popular people versus just make friends. Like it's easy to make friends if you're just getting friends that are cool. There's a lot of cool people that are just like you wouldn't even look at, you know what I mean? But like everybody's trying to get the cool friends or the ones that are going to benefit them more versus just a friend. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's something that I've really taken heed of. As so I guess to give you my story, this is everybody. This is me and Bluff actually just really getting to know each other. So we did that song together, "Real Bad," which at
Mhm.
first we thought it was what "Real Mad" or something like that.
Oh yeah, I know. You fucked it up.
But so Kason, or he basically um how did I found I think I found out about him because y'all two were talking to each other on Instagram or something. And
Yeah.
I was like, "Who's this dude?" And I went to his page and it said Alabama, that he was from Alabama. I was like, "Oh, no way," because I'm from Aniana, Alabama, and he's from like Coleman, Alabama. We're literally from like 40 minutes away from each other.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So um, but anyways, there's that's we did that music together, but like we still don't really know much about each other. And
Mm.
I think it's really neat doing music with people who are just completely different from you, because you can just learn like so much about genres and
Mm.
how people attack music. Like some people, like, especially with like beat makers, like you tell somebody to pull up FL Studio and then they start pulling up um, Analog Labs or Omnisphere first, and you're like,
Mm.
whoa. I start with drums first. You're like, what? I start with melody first. You know what I mean? Like that's
Yeah,
such a weird thing.
it's crazy. That's crazy. Do you start with drums first?
I start with melody first.
See, the majority of people I know start with melody first, and I used to always start with given the situation. Obviously, if I'm writing something that's heavily on melody, if I'm writing for rappers, it's drums first every time
Mm,
for me. Which is not for most people, but like I wanted to kind of throw myself a curveball one day, and then I realized that, and just from like a working at a studio perspective, someone who pays 2 hours for your time to make a song, it's a lot easier for them to write a lot to a beat than to the, because you could just keep swapping out the melody, but like
mm.
the beat already got them going like
That's the
this. You could,
cadence.
yeah, you could write to the, you already got the cadence ready. Like sometimes it's harder for people to write to like a melody unless they're a singer. So that's why I do beat first. And plus, for me, I feel like I can hear the bop that I want, and then it's easier for me to play melodies on top of it than to just create a melody out of nowhere, or
Do-
it'll be bass too. Bass would come after like the drums for me.
So is there a certain strength and or weakness you have? Like you're like, oh man, my hi-hat game is crazy, or like my kicks or my 808.
Uh Honestly, as far as like if I'm making something from scratch, probably like the chords of shit. You
Mm.
know what I mean? Like I could find them, but it's just gonna take me so much longer. Like I usually fuck around with loops a lot, like just to get a vibe going. I might like put a loop in, build around it, take the loop out, and make my own thing if I want. But like at the same time, like it's like I don't think there's anything wrong with loops. Uh, I like just like the sound design of it, like just like putting things that shouldn't belong together. But
Mm.
like I think the worst thing I am at, if like you were to tell me to do, would probably be it might just be that. It might be just like finding chords for shit. It
Okay.
takes me too long to do. That's why I always use loops for like chords specifically, because it just takes me so long.
Mine, I would say, is the bass. Like 808s, like I think it's because I'm not really musically inclined. Like I have a great ear for music, but I don't know keys. Like right now I've got a Novation Launch Key 25 in front of me, and I wrote with an expo marker every note. So like it goes
That's okay.
from C, from I guess middle C to the left and then other middle C to the right. Like I've got every note because I don't know chords and scales like that.
Yeah.
So I think my, what do they call it, like tone deaf. Like I don't really know how to reach the perfect tone of an 808. I just
Yeah.
I just keep changing it till I feel like it sounds good.
Yeah. No, I feel that. I'd say another thing that I'm not good at is keeping things simple.
Mm,
I tend to throw a lot of paint on the canvas, and even if it's too much, because I feel like it's easier to do too much and take away than it is to do too little and then try to find something to put in. So like if I were to present a beat to someone, sometimes it's like a little intimidating. It's almost like a, how could I put this in a, I always like have to find like an analogy for something. It's like I almost make my beats too complicated on purpose, because there's a specific type of person I want on it.
mm.
And I know if someone liked it and they had something for it, they're the right person. So it's kind of like it's like not a beat for everybody. You know what I mean? Because I don't want to, because it's hard I don't like lease any beats or anything like that. So like every beat is a one of one.
Mm.
But yeah, so I've had times that are just like, that's a lot. You could just take some stuff out. I don't know where to stop, like when to stop adding. You know what I mean? Because like I'm almost making the song at that point instead of just like starting with a loop.
And
So
I think that is a byproduct of you being an engineer and an artist. So I had that problem when I first started out. Like I
mhm.
was letting some guy listen to a bunch of my beats, and he was like, "Man, you've got two, and he wasn't even a musician at all. He did really like music. Like he actually said he wanted to be in the music business, but he didn't want to be an artist or anything. And he was like, "Man, your beats just have too much going on." He was like, "You need to take some sounds out because there's no room for the artist to be on there." And I was like, "Dang, I never really thought about it like that because like I'm making my beats like it's a freaking like Skrillex track. You know what I mean? Like it's like the all the sounds are taking place of what a voice should be doing." And so
Yeah.
I never really like comprehended that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I make because I make most of my beats with people, and the vocals are coming like within seconds of me finishing. That like they're writing as a, and I'm kind of like going off their vibe. But when it's just me alone, like I'm pretending I'm on the like like I'm thinking of things already as I'm making the beat. So I'm kind of adhering the beat to me, which even though I'm not going to be on it, you know what I mean?
Mm,
So that's why it's, it's like hit and miss. That's why I don't make a lot of beats just to make a beat.
mm.
Usually I make it for like, I have an idea for something. I have an idea for the end goal of a song. But yeah.
I think a lot of artists are in that mode of, oh, I'm gonna just make a song to make a song. And
Mhm.
I had to, I've got a good friend, 416DD. Um, Me and him have made a lot of music together. I engineer all his stuff. Like he's kind of like my case on to you. Like
Yeah.
he was in my first class in Full Sail, actually. And and I hit him up, Full Sail, you can like look at all your classmates in the class, and I hit him up and I was like, "Yo, I see you make music, blah blah blah," and he lived in New Orleans at the time, and I was like, "Man, I'm gonna come down and I'm gonna come see you, and we can make some music together." And I don't think he believed me because when I actually came down there, he's like, "Bro, what? Like you here?" And I was like, "Yeah." So, but we made some music when I went down there. We've
Hell yeah.
really good friends ever since. But he currently lives in Dallas, and um, he'll come up here still, and we'll make music together. And this one time we were trying to make a song, and I was like, "Oh, he was struggling to come up with lyrics," and I was like, "Well, what's the song about?" He's like, "What you mean?" And I was like, "What are you talking about? Like, what's the song about?" And he was like, "Dang, I don't know." And I was like, "Well, that's your problem. That's why you can't think of anything to say. You don't know what you're talking about." So you,
Yeah.
if an artist really comes up with a concept, a theme first, then it just makes everything else so simple. And they just have to, when you have it's like making a movie. Like if you don't know what the movie's about, then what's the next scene about? Why are you even making another scene?
Yeah. It's like planning a vacation when you don't know where you're going.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just like you can't just like, or like when you have a day off, right? And you had no plans of doing anything, but you're just like, oh, let's do something. They're like, do what? And you're like, you know how hard it is to think of something to do when you have no idea what you wanted to do today. Like it happens a lot though. Like that it's it's it happens a lot in the studio with me too when I'm working with people. Like they're just like, I could tell they love the song that's about to be, but they just can't think of anything. And it happens to me too, like where you're just like, fuck, like you might even have a melody maybe, and then you're just like, shit, like I don't have anything to say. Like I'm just like speechless. I have no idea what to talk about. That
And
happens though.
yeah, I mean, we kind of feel like bad artists when we do that, but it probably happens to so many people.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, well, I wouldn't say like that makes you a good artist, but like uh because that's subjective, but like it's like someone who's a painter or like anything like that, like you just tell them draw. Like what do you want me to draw? I don't know, just draw. Like what does that mean? You know what I mean? Like it should be done when you're inspired. That just means you're not inspired right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That
And
happens.
to be able to understand, like, I kind of feel like I understood where you were about to go with that. Like it makes you a good artist that you feel it's necessary to have a theme. Like
Exactly.
you're so cognitive of the situation that you're like, no, it's not right to just go in there and say whatever. Like we need to have a purpose behind this.
Exactly. Yeah. You need to like, it's like that, you're holding yourself to a standard. You know what I mean? And that doesn't mean lyrically. It just means overall. Like what is the theme? A theme doesn't have to mean you're telling a story. You don't, but like even if it was like a hype song that's for the club, you have nothing to talk about. You know what I mean? So then you're not gonna just start saying random shit. You know what I mean? You're gonna put yourself in a mindset one day. Maybe it takes like 6 months. Maybe like some time goes by and then you have a time at a club and then you're like, oh, this craziest thing happened to me at the club. Oh, I forgot about this beat. Oh, why didn't I write to this? And then you start like that's happened so many times where you're just like, dude, I forgot about this. Why didn't I make anything to this beat? This beat's crazy. You know what I mean? And then you're just inspired.
Yeah, I mean that's the great thing about music is when you get that inspiration, like you just start going off. And it's a great thing that some people have the ability to just write songs like crazy, but I'm not one of them. It usually takes me a day or more to finish a song.
Mm.
And that's like two verses and a chorus. Um, some people can do that within an hour. I'm just not one of them. But yeah, I mean, some people they just have it. They have the gift of writing.
Yeah. Some people could it's not consistent. It's like there's some people that have a quantity over quality, but because of their quantity, they will get a couple quality tracks. And there's some people that have quality over quantity, but it takes them forever to get any type of quantity. And sometimes that could actually make them not get any quantity because they are just they overthink it too much. And it's like if you can mix like the perfect artist would be someone who um has the holds himself to a standard where they can identify the quality, but they can make a lot of quantity until then. Because that's like the most authentic way of making it because it's all feeling. You know what I mean? So they might make a bunch of feeling tracks one a day, and it on the eighth day is when they're just like, no, this is the one. And then you could take everything from those other tracks that you liked and make a better song out of that versus someone who just constantly overthinks and then your musician friends that you have that like they've played you their discography and you're like that's unreleased and you're like dude like just put this out or like they're like they make the same song like they've been working on the same song for like 2 years like they've remade it like 7 times and you're just like dude you just gotta like let it go and go to the next one like you're not gonna put out the best song first or second or 10th. You know what I mean? Like, and show people the growth. Like, there's so many people I know that like they'll keep going and they want it to be perfect, and then they're so disappointed when they put it out and they realize nobody cares that your song is amazing and nobody cares who you are and you didn't give anybody a reason to give a shit about you. You know what I mean? It's like that's not the world we live in. You can't just like, you know what I mean? You can't just like that's like asking, you know what I mean? You didn't like even go on the internet, like they go on social media for the first time in like a million years, and then they're like, new song. It's like you didn't even like say hi to anybody.
Yeah, like that whole strategy of releasing when I first heard somebody say like, we don't care about that you're releasing music. We just want the release. And I was like,
Hmm.
"Oh man, like that's a great way for people to understand is like it's okay to like have that lead up, that foreplay, that social media
Yeah,
foreplay, but like at the end of the day, the most of your promotion should be weeks after the release because now
yeah,
people actually have a go do. They have an action item to go listen.
exactly. Yeah, you can't like we're not J. Cole and Kendrick Lamar and these people that could just like go in hiding and everybody's waiting. You know what I mean? Like even I've read things and it's true. Like you shouldn't even really tease a song that you're not going to drop for like a long time because
Mhm.
everybody within hours after watching your little snippet is going to forget about it. And if it's really that good, they'll forget about it in a week. You know
Mm.
what I mean? Like like you'll see it all the time. Your teaser for your single got way more clicks, comments, everything, and then you release a song and nobody gives a shit. And you're like, yo, what the I thought everybody was stoked for it. It's like, well, they were stoked and now they moved on. they went, got some lunch and met some friends and forgot,
Yeah, I mean that's like we're straight males. That'd be like some really hot chick, flirting with you, and then she like waits months to to
Yeah.
get back with you. It's like I'm already talking to somebody else. I don't even care about.
Yeah. 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 Imagine like someone came up to you and just like, oh, we should, we hang out sometime. And then they're just like, oh, yeah, maybe. And then like a month goes by and it's like, actually, let's go on that date. It's like, what do you mean let's go on a date?
Yeah,
Eh,
that concept is so it's so funny that people just a lot of people don't understand.
yeah.
But like you said, like we only know how to treat ourselves as musicians as
Yeah.
the way the people that we idolize treat themselves. Kendrick Lamar, as you said, him and J. Cole, two of the greatest artists of our time, nobody knows anything about their life. Like I remember like 3 years ago, I found out J. Cole was married. Like I had no idea
Yeah.
he
Everybody
was
found
married.
out. Yeah.
But like they keep that stuff out of the limelight, and but there's other people that we know everything about their life. So
Hmm.
it kind of you have to pick and choose.
Yeah. I mean, and another thing too is like, I hate, well, I don't hate, but when like these big artists give like the speech about like all this stuff doesn't mean anything and like like it and the humble thing, but it's and like you could still be successful without it. It's like, but like every one of you guys had the phase where you were go 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 go, and that's the reason why you're even in the position to tell me not to be that way. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like what you're saying is true, but like not if I want to be where you're at. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? It's true if I want to sit here and be okay with life as is, no better, no worse, like just be content. Like you are in your level, which is up here. But if I want to be at your level, that's not going to get me there. You know what I mean? So like it's like you can't, that there's no picking and choosing when it comes to like you gotta hustle and go through that things and go through that trials and tribulations that make you eventually end up at the place where, oh, this doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Which it's good advice, like if it could stop someone from wanting that so bad, because it doesn't matter. But if you do want that and like you're also a healthy person and you're not like, you know what I mean? You got to be like a little psycho to at one point to get up there. You know what I mean? You got to be like a little bit of you have to have an obsession to be like like to be a master. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was actually trying to explain that to my wife yesterday about Tom Brady. I was like, Tom Brady literally has one of the hottest wives and richest wives ever, but he's choosing. I mean, I don't know his business, but everybody's speculating that their marriage fell apart because he chose football over, just not playing football and being at home with his wife
Yeah.
and kids. But like, if that is true, if you aren't that kind of dedicated to your craft, you're not going to understand. Like you're just not going to understand what it's like to want something so bad that your marriage fell apart.
Yeah. I mean, it's like you could say that's like wrong. Like obviously it's not right, but like at the same time, it's like that's like his path in life. You know what I mean? So, like it's just like you can't like judge that. I don't think it's right to to put down people who don't want that. You know what I mean? Like for me personally, like I always believe like the hustle culture of like go 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 do. You got to hustle. You if you're not up when I'm up, like all that like bullshit propaganda that like the YouTube videos do that they don't believe either. They just do it because like it gets other people riled up. Like I don't think that's like a healthy way to live either. Like people will convince you that you have to, if anybody's, goes against you, fuck them, you know what I mean? And like your family, your friends, like it's like there's truth in some of these things, but like you're just gonna be like alone at the top. You know what I mean? Like it's okay to like it's okay to have a job like and be a musician. It's okay to have a good job and be a musician. It's if that job affects you when you're trying to be that guy, because you'll never be that guy who has all the time in the world. But if you're okay with that, doesn't mean you're worse than him. You know what I mean? Like I think it's like identifying like what do you want out of life? You can't be the big touring musician and have a job. But if you don't need to be that, and you could have a job that might fund your album release, you know what I mean? Like there's some people that like, I'm gonna leave everything, go to California, to LA or New York City, and then they think that's what like is your motivation to like be successful, but like it's not. Like you have to have the mentality. You have to be at the point where like the job is actually making it harder for you.
Mm,
You know what I mean? Like if you don't have the if you don't get home every day from your job and you're immediately like, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like with the 20 minutes you have before you have to put your kids to bed, then you shouldn't even think about leaving your job. You
yeah.
know what I mean? Because more time in the world is actually harder to organize your time. If you got to learn how to organize the 1 minute, the 10 minute, the lunch break, you know what I mean? And then you'll graduate to like, I need to drop the job because I don't have enough time in the day.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? So I see that so much, and I've seen people actually stop making music because they dropped everything and they're broke and they have all the time in the day, and it actually demotivated them. It did worse than them just coming home from work after a long day, going and decompressing and using it as a mental relaxation thing and a passion versus like, how do I make this work? You know what I mean? It's kind of like sad when that happens to people, that they think that, you know, that's what you have to do is like sacrifice everything because the goat sacrificed everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah, pressure makes diamonds. Like
Mm-hmm.
you need that time crunch, like you were saying. Like you come home and then you got to get started. Like, and that's how I am. Like I have a job where I work from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. and I'm an automation technician. So I know you were talking about programming. Well, I do like ladder logic. I don't know if you know what that is. So I don't know like Python and C++. Plus plus. Like I don't know that kind of programming. I do ladder logic, so it's like a if this then that. It'll is
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yes, it's basically like how a relay works. Like I have
Yeah.
pages of ladder logic that say like if this happens and this happens, then this will happen. And so
Okay.
that's how I do programming. I work for Owens Corning, like the shingle manufacturer.
Okay.
But I mean, I make great money, over 110 grand a year about. But
That's awesome.
I own a label. I started my own label with my good friend Ryan Olson. I met him actually when I got to Memphis. We did a podcast together, and then he convinced me, basically took me by my neck and was like, "Hey, let's start a let's start a label." So yeah, we did that, and then it's now consumes all my time. Like I actually have two businesses. I have Romera Records, which that's what this is, Romera Records podcast, and I do audiobooks. I'm trying to do voice acting, but that's what I do for Romero Record side. And then with Damage Media Group, I say it's more for like everybody else's stuff. So I'm
Mhm.
working on promoting other people's work. Like you see on my Instagram and Facebook right now, I'm promoting Met Montreal's song Hitman. And that's Damage Media Group. That's all, whose music can I produce? So
Yeah.
that takes up so much of my time. And I'm not gonna lie, it frustrates me when I see other people say, "Well, I don't have time." Okay, I have a job where I work 8 hours a day minimum, sometimes more, and I run two companies. I'm busy, but some people just say, "Well, I'm too busy." And I'm like, "Trust me, you're not that busy." And even I feel like there's a lot of time that I waste, either on social media or, just not being efficient with my time. Like if I'm making a beat and it takes me 3 hours to make this one beat when I could have just made it in like, 30 minutes or something like that. But
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
it's it's all about, as you said, like finding out what truly matters most to you. Is it that free time? I try to make a point to hang out with my wife at least by like 9 p.m. Like
Hmm.
I'm gone all day, and then I come home and immediately start working on my companies. And I barely talk to my wife. And like we'll go for a walk around the neighborhood, and then like after that, like I'm just working until like 9 o'clock at night, and then that's when I finally like talk to her. So
Yeah, I know what you mean, man. It's just like it's just a balance. Like you gotta have a life too. Like I don't like don't get me wrong, like this is no disrespect to anybody where music is life. You know what I mean? Like, and that gave them life meaning. But I will stand by the fact that I think it's important to not put all your eggs in one basket like that. And I think you do need a life that involves only you and not other people, because music is all about acceptance of other people. And I think the same way that like in a relationship, like between two people, like it shouldn't fill voids, it should only add. I think music should only add to your life and it shouldn't fill a void in your life. I don't think that's healthy, but like that's like with any passion, you know what I mean? Like you got to develop a purpose for yourself that extends past that, I think. But um yeah, that balance is, you know, it's important. And I, you know, a lot of the people I work with, you know, hand in hand, like my buddy Nick Moody, he, you know, he probably one of the most dedicated musicians like I know, like just in terms of like he, you know, he has his, you know, he has his family, you know, not kids but like his, you know, his family, like he helps out, and then he works as a server in an Italian restaurant all the time. And you know, I see the stress on his face every single time, like that I see him, and like his, you know, struggles and everything, and just like hit, and on top of that, like trying to build this brand and everything. And like you know, those in music there's so many just punches to the face, you know what I mean, that you have to go through. And another buddy of mine that I've been working with, this dude Andrew Kelly out of St. Louis, he's super dope too. He, you know, he has like two, I think, going on three kids, works a job. At the end of the day, both of them go write all their shit on their free time. There's not a time not spent. There's no free time that's not spent with the passion. You know what I mean? All the other time, you know, they're spent with like family and like their girls or like whatever they need. You know, it's still part of their life, but like every other last bit of free time is spent on what do we got to do now? You know what I mean? And that's how you know, like that's like Nick has told me like, oh, you know, how he wants to quit Vincent's and stuff. And I used to tell him like, you know, quit. You'll know the right time to quit. Like quit when you feel like you're like you got something ready to go, like where you're about to, you know, you need more time in the day. And he already does, but like also the money aspect of it. You know what I mean? Like you're able to do these things because you got money. You know what I mean? And you gotta risk not having money, but it might work out in your favor because you're so dedicated. You have to have like that dedication to like figuring it out. And I don't think you always just need to throw yourself into the sharks. Like nobody learned to swim drowning. You know what I mean? You can't like put yourself so low or like and then have someone learn. It doesn't work like that. It works like that for like one out of a billion people. You know what I mean? Same as blowing up. It's like betting on blowing up. Like it's just you're not going to blow up. I there's a high enough percent chance of you not blowing up that I could tell you you will not blow up.
And I think a lot of people fail to get that. It's as we're talking about, like that ego side of us. Like we're like, nope, this is the one. This one's gonna blow up. It's like,
I'm the one. I'm the anomaly. You know what I mean? Most people that blew up, if it wasn't a label that just did it, uh, it's always a video or anything that goes viral that is like, why did this go viral? You know what I mean? It's like it should make no sense why it blew up. You know what I mean? If it blows up, like, and how do you even anticipate? How do you create something with the intent of it blowing up? Because everything that blows up is a one of a kind. You know what I mean? Like this happened right spot, right time. You can't control time and you know what I mean? So you, yeah.
so I don't want to take up too much of your time. Let's go ahead and wrap this
No,
up.
you
um, guess go ahead.
Damn, are you trying to get rid of me?
No, it's been an hour. That's the the time I usually have stuff. We'll keep talking after this because
No, you get it.
what is all your stuff? Give everybody your Instagrams, your whatever.
Okay, so on everything, I have the artist one or my main, which is Bluff, New York, spelt out. So BLVFF NEWYORK. That's on every social. And then on Instagram and Twitter, I have producer Blvff, which is like just, you could follow it if you want, but it's just my like, I put my catalog on there. Like anytime I produce something, I just post it. So it's not really like an interactive thing. It's just like if you want to see what I've made. Spotify, Apple Music, all that stuff. It's just Blvff, BLVFF. And on my Spotify, you go to the artist playlist and you could see I made playlists for all the songs I produced, all the songs I've mixed. They're in separate playlists. So like if you want to see what songs I have mixed or produced, you could just click those on my Spotify. So and if you want to hit me up for studio time or you want to work with me, like it's just a conversation. Just start a conversation with me. Just ask me, like personally, is the best way, and we'll work. We'll work something out.
Awesome. Thank you so much for doing this. It's been like a week in waiting, but I definitely was like, man, I've got to talk to this guy.
Yeah, I'm just a piece of shit, and don't
Oh my god. I mean, it's some people they just either they don't really know like what to talk about, and then I'm like, trust me, we're gonna have stuff to talk about, and then they'll just like put me off. They're like, nah, I can't do it. But I'm just like, yeah, it's fun just like communicating your thoughts with people. So that's why I do this podcast like this.
Yeah, I never fucking I barely talk about like shit. So usually anytime I do these things, I'm just like, oh, I've been thinking about this for a while. This is what I think.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you for joining us, and thank you for everybody for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.